guys, welcome to my channel, your Agile Coach. Tomorrow I'm going to join an Agile community workshop in Taiwan, and its topic is pretty interesting. That is called A Scrum Master's Journey, how to start adopting the Scrum in your organization. Well, as an ex-Scrum Master, I had so many complex emotions when I saw this topic because not all the Agile transformation would be successful as expected. It's not like, hey, I learned something new in a training course and I thought it useful to improve the outcome, so let's do it. That's not how change works, and there are many traps out there if you don't see them. Try imagine if there are some similar conditions you might have encountered as I say here. First, you are passionate about sharing what you learned from a training course and encourage members to use it as soon as possible, but they might be murmuring in the back, what the hell this guy is doing. Second, you declare you are doing Scrum, but it seems that the team does not follow the discipline to review the process and impediments remain. They just have the form but lack of inner acknowledgement to the spirit of it. Third, your members are complaining about their roles and accountabilities that changed, and they are not used to the big variation in such a short time. They even disagree what you promoted, trying to keep the old way of working. If those ones happen around you, this video is totally for you. To put the Agile transformation into practice, what you should know is not the Agile methodologies like Scrum, Kanban, LESS, SAFe, TDD, DDD, and so on. Conversely, you should be knowing how to manipulate the hidden logic of Agile, PDCA, in the very beginning. So what is PDCA? I'd like to explain in a simple manner so that you could get its idea. Essentially, it is a 4-steps framework for continuous improvement in business processes: plan, do, check, and act. At the early stage, it was only a college lecture introduced by Dr. William Edward Deming in 1950s, so we also called it the Deming cycle. Later, the concept was applied in Japanese manufacturing to boost their product quality. I'm not sure if you have ever been to the factories in Japan. If you go there, you might see a brand saying "zero defect" that confidently show their delivery competence, and why you need to know PDCA before introducing the Scrum framework to your team. In my opinion, also from the perspective of an ex-Scrum Master, understanding PDCA helps you obtain the core logic of Agile methodologies. In fact, associated terms such as Scrum, Kanban, LESS, SAFe, TDD, DDD, and so on are developed on the basis of PDCA. They have different forms that are adapted to contexts. Besides that, applying PDCA could help you observe whether your team is mature or not, and the result might affect your decision to introducing the Scrum to them. To be honest, not all people are used to the Scrum, and applying PDCA upfront reduces the risk of failing a collaboration by forming improvement cycle, which don't change their roles and accountabilities. Lastly, as I said, any Agile methodology is developed based on the framework. In that, you could create your way of working based on it, so that you won't be trapped by the appearance of Agile methodologies. Let's investigate deeper. What does each abbreviation mean? The first one is plan. In this phase, we try to analyze the status quo and identify problems, and then we start innovating solutions, making assumptions, or even set up criteria we'd like to observe in order to measure the results. The second one is do. Do what? We will put the action plans into practice, trying to collect some data for a later review. And the third one is check. After implementing the action plans, we have some data to review results, validate assumptions, and evaluate outcomes. Besides, the implementation process should be checked to seek further improvement, no matter in solutions or plans. The last one is act. In this phase, we would summarize the process, show what we have learned, what gets things right, what gets things wrong, and kick off the next cycle. Ideally, it is an indefinite cycle that continuously improves itself. In fact, you are able to discover that these elements exist in all Agile methodologies, just evolve into different forms depending on its context. If you still feel confused with my explanation about PDCA, let me show you how I make use of the framework to manage my business plan. Honestly speaking, I use the Kanban method to control my action items. If you are unfamiliar with Kanban and its techniques, never mind, because I just want to show you how the core logic of PDCA works in my daily life. Remember, all Agile methodologies could be separated into these 4 parts and form an indefinite cycle. Let's see the P part first. There's a wall in my home stuck with many sticky notes that describe possible action items, including content generation items, improvement items, and ideas. I always have to brainstorm how to create more valuable contents to use. So in check part, I will write down some refinement plan and new ideas to do, then populate the wall with them. In do part, for the sticky notes selected from the left wall, they are flowing into the system and I begin to realize them one by one. Usually, the cycle takes a week. If you see some strange terms on the board, don't think too much. Those are derived from Kanban methods, and my goal is to show you how PDCA works here. As the cycle is going to the end, I will hold a flow review on my own to introspect if there is anything I should improve further, no matter in action plans or process. For example, these days I started thinking about adding an emergency lane on the board to pass the urgent issues. Even further, I collected the item data of the workflow to evaluate my delivery capability. For example, I use lead time distribution to calculate average time to deliver an item, and I could notice whether my delivery speed is stable as more items get into the system with a cumulative flow diagram. As I mentioned, in check part, we use some data to access performance and innovate better solutions. In act part, we kick off the next cycle and repeat the previous steps. Well, I just took a simple example to show you a real-world condition that employs the concept. In fact, you could derive your own methods based on the framework. For example, you could initiate a small workshop in your organization trying to lead a team to innovate ideas that could relieve your pain points. Set up observed indicators and just test them for some time, evaluate results with indicators, improve solutions, and begin the next workshop. Some audiences might be confused about the topic. Why what I've told does not contain any terms related to Scrum? Well, if you are a Scrum Master, you need to know what impedes the team, what is in their way to deliver values. If you use the PDCA framework to start your improvement cycle, I'm certain you could get some precious information from the process. Firstly, you could use it to test whether the logic is available for the team. If it buys into the idea in a short time and brings some helpful changes, that's a positive signal that implies applying Scrum might be successful in the future, because that implicitly shows the team is mature enough to accept a new mindset to come. Secondly, you could cultivate servant leadership through the process, trying to let others believe you are doing something to solve their problems, support their growth, and win their back up to your intention to introduce the Scrum framework. Lastly, you are building the foundation for the upcoming Agile transformation. If it fails, never mind, because you didn't take much cost at the very early stage. Conversely, if it succeeds, you are able to imbibe other best practices to help the team self-improve and self-organize. For an experienced Scrum Master, he might directly introduce the Scrum framework to his team without knowing if members are able to buy into the idea and risk failing the adoption. Well, if you don't do PDCA to test the team in the beginning, it is probably that you might trigger anti-emotions to Scrum because they don't fully understand what the hell it is, and their roles and accountabilities change. Once the management does not see benefits from it, you even cannot get sponsorship. Finally, you fail as a Scrum Master. Therefore, knowing its core logic helps to make it progress smoothly and get more space to move forward or backward. Well, I would say context matters. Recognizing problem is the first step to trigger an improvement process. No matter who you are, if you are still on the journey to be an Agile coach or a Scrum Master, trying to make clear the logic of Agile, I believe any organization that owns the DNA will be able to embrace a variable environment. And I still encourage you to apply for Scrum training courses even if they cost you about 1,000 to 2,000 US dollars, because you get not only how to use the framework but also know some problem people out there. Just never forget the DNA of Agile. If you have any questions, comment below and subscribe to me. I'm Andy, your Agile coach. See you next time.